Hi everybody, and welcome to part 3 of our McIntosh MC2100 video series. And I can tell you I've had a really hard time keeping up with all of the comments from my last video asking your opinion on what we should do with the transformers. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you what I chose, and all I can tell you is I cannot believe how many really good tips and so forth I received from all of you. So thank you all, and I did use some of them, and I want to go over some of that with you all. So let's take a look and see where we are with this. Well, here it is, and as you can see, an overwhelming majority of you were really recommending that we leave these alone. Just clean them up, put a thin coat of some protectant on it, and leave it alone. And that's exactly what I've done. And now that I think about it, I really am glad that we did it this way. And one of the things is I can always go back at a later time and pull the transformers, which isn't a big deal, and refinish them if I change my mind. But actually, I don't really mind the look. This amp is a survivor, and that's really what it's going to look like. So I don't think it's that bad. Now, on the other hand, the chassis, it really turned out nice. And I had some really good advice on this, and I want to share it with all of you. As you saw in the last video at the very beginning, or at the very end, I took this to my buffing wheel, and it buffed out pretty well. But to be able to get it to the next level, we used this Quick Glow. And you can buy this online. There's they actually sell it direct, and I found that you can even buy it using your PayPal. So it's really easy to order. It came in a couple of days, and I was surprised at how well this actually works. So just give you a look. It just looks like kind of like a paste wax, and it does contain a wax in it, so it does, kind of leave a little bit of a coating, but it also has abrasives, real mild ones if you get the fine, and it really does wonders on this. You could see how nice it did. And but I got another tip, and I had always heard this, and I never believed it and always thought it was an urban legend, so I never tried it. But this is nothing but aluminum foil, or aluminium foil, however you want to pronounce it. And I raided the kitchen and just got a piece of it. And what you do with this stuff is if you take it and rub it on chrome where the pitting is, the aluminum will actually fill in the little divots and clean off at the same time, clean the rust off and the pitting. And it kind of makes the pits shiny again. And then you go follow it up with this a little bit, and lo and behold, it came out really well. Now, I was afraid to use it on anywhere where you had lettering, although this real fine stuff worked really well and didn't hurt the lettering at all. But I think you can see it really polished up to the point where I can't even touch it, or I get fingerprints and smears on it, from my hands, because it's so polished. So you're never going to get rid of all the pitting, because that's actually where it has eaten away the metal with the rust. But that being said, take a look at it. It looks really well. It looks really nice. So it's presentable as far as I'm concerned. The transformers cleaned up. I actually used just a little coat of this on there. It took just the slightest amount of paint off, which is what we wanted, and then kind of polished it and kind of sealed off the rust a little bit. And again, it's still got its little dings and things in it, but that's fine. That's character. This thing's a survivor. So we're going to move on from there, and we're going to start reassembling this. And then at the end of this video, we'll talk about the two boards that are going to go in here. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned, and we'll be back. Well, slowly but surely, she's going back together. Got our harness put back in, and we have our capacitors connected back up, and our power supply is together, And we put a new power cord and a fuse holder in there. Fitted our input board back in. So very slowly but surely coming together. So the next thing we have to do is figure out how to wire up these heat sinks. And you can see some of these wires got damaged from being put in and out so many times. I'm going to inspect them a little more closely and replace any wires that may need it. And most of the wires are in extremely good condition, so I don't think we're going to have to mess with it. But we're coming along. Well, we got this thing mostly together, and I'm getting ready to reassemble the heat sinks. And you can see all the resistors that have the X's on them are open. They're totally open. And of that, all the rest of these around here, I'd say about half of the ones that are still good are borderline out of tolerance, if not out of tolerance. So we're going to have to replace all the current limiting resistors on these heat sinks. So we're just going to completely rebuild those. I mean, I'm not too surprised, but that's what we're going to have to do. So time to dig out some resistors. Okay, that took a lot longer than I anticipated, but it's all together now. The bottom of the amp is reassembled, and I replaced every one of those resistors. You can see here's some of them, just all the old ones, but they're all replaced now. I ended up replacing the transistors with some MJ211, what are they? 21194s. Those are good replacements for these. I do have some of the originals, not the Motorola's, but the, what are they, 2N5508s or something like that. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the notes. I do have a set of those, I believe, maybe even a couple more than a set, but I'm going to kind of save those. I don't want to use them in here. And the MJs are actually a lot more robust, and they have very similar characteristics. They have a relatively low transition frequency, which for this amp I think is going to be a good thing, because if you notice on all of the transistors, the outputs, you see these little ferrite beads on there. I have a feeling this amp was, when it was first designed, may have been prone to oscillation, and putting a real high transition frequency output transistor in here would probably just add to the problem. So these are a good choice. They're very heavy duty. They can handle a lot of power, so I think that's the way I'm going to go. Anyway, I have no idea if it's going to work. I changed so much, you know, I had so much taken apart and then put back together. Oh, one other thing. All of the transistors now have insulating pads on them. And yes, I am aware these little plastic isolators actually isolate the heatsink from the chassis. The problem I have here is that this amp did not come with the cover. So these heat sinks are exposed. Now, it's bad enough that the transistors are exposed on the top side of the amplifier, and they definitely have VCC voltage on, rail voltage on them, but they're kind of countersunk into the heatsink a little bit. What I don't want is to, bump a piece of metal into two of the heat sinks or between the heatsink and ground or in chassis and make a short. So I chose to put those insulators in there, and now we have isolated heat sinks totally. So that's it for now. So this is put together until we get to really the main part of this project now. So let's take a look. Looks a lot better than when we started. But if you remember when we first got this amplifier, the glaring problem with these two empty slots here and here, where there should be a circuit board. So I think you can tell what our next video is going to be. And I'll give you a little glimpse. Yes, we have some boards. And that's going to be the next video. So we're going to talk about kind of some of the decisions I made, and then we're going to take our time and we're going to assemble the boards. So I figured some of you would like to see one of them assembled, so I'll go ahead and do that on camera. Anyway, that'll be our next video. I still don't know if this thing's going to work or not. We'll just have to plug it in and try it out when we get it all done. So until next time, peace, joy, happiness, and good health in your lives, and we'll see you real soon with the next video where we're going to start those boards. All right, bye-bye.